I've filed for divorce and I'll be taking the house and car as part of the asset division. It's going to be tough for you. I mean, who knows how much longer you'll even live. Jake laughed, as if he had accomplished something great. Unbelievable. How could he abandon me just because I got cancer? Isn't a couple supposed to support each other during times like this? Jake's words and actions cut me to the core. I can never forgive him. I'll bring him down and make him see hell. I'll do whatever it takes, even if it's hard on my body. My stern determination invigorated me, marking the beginning of my revenge. My name is Emily, a 45-year-old housewife. I live with my husband, Jake. We met through a mutual friend. Back then, Jake was a charming person liked by everyone. He treated me, someone initially shy around strangers, with kindness. I was quickly drawn to him. The time I spent with Jake was so enjoyable that I wished for more moments together, and he felt the same way. That's how we got together and eventually married. I was truly happy to marry the man I loved so much. I was convinced that our happy life would continue, but that turned out to be just an ideal. After marriage, Jake changed. It's probably because of his job. To put it bluntly, Jake didn't earn much. He didn't study much in school and didn't have any particular qualifications or impressive educational background. That's why he ended up at a lower-ranking company. I had often suggested he change jobs, but Jake said it was too much trouble and rejected my advice without reconsidering. Well, I still have a job, and with my salary, we could easily live together. But what if we had a child? What if, for some reason, I couldn't work? Then it would be utterly impossible to get by on Jake's salary alone. Hey Jake, my company is hiring a clerk. You don't need any special qualifications, and anyone with basic common sense can do the job. Why don't you consider it? The pay is much better than what you're earning now, I suggested one day after a friend from the HR department mentioned the opening. Looking at the job requirements, I felt Jake would have no problems. I thought this could be a chance for him to leave his low-paying job. However, Jake frowned at my suggestion. Don't decide my life for me. I like working at my current company. Don't make unnecessary remarks. Are you complaining about your husband's job now? Jake's tone clearly conveyed his anger. My good intentions seemed to have upset him. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way, but your current company clearly doesn't pay well. My company offers good benefits, and I thought you could work there with peace of mind. I never intended to upset Jake. I was only trying to help him. I didn't understand what was wrong with my suggestion, but when I tried to explain, Jake became even angrier. Don't meddle just because you're my wife. I have my way of doing things. Stay out of it. Saying that, Jake went to his room. Stay out of it. I am Jake's wife and part of the family, yet being treated like an outsider hurt deeply. By then, our relationship had already begun to crumble, and once it breaks, it can never be put back together. Not only towards me, but Jake also began to act cold towards my family. One day, my mother, Sarah, visited our home. I often got busy with work and couldn't manage household chores, so my mother would worry about me and regularly come over to help with cleaning or preparing meals. As a gesture of gratitude, I'd invite her for dinner often, and sometimes she'd stay the night as it got late. Initially, I believed Jake was thankful for her help, but his attitude changed. When he saw her after coming home from work, he would sigh heavily and say, "Is she here again? Could you not always be at someone else's house? I can't relax with outsiders around." Both my mother and I were stunned by his harsh words. "If I've made you uncomfortable, I apologize. I'll skip dinner and head home today," my mother said, hurt but dignified. She had her own life yet was helping us, and it was unforgivable for Jake to treat her so rudely. "Jake, how can you be so rude to my mom? She's here to help us. Apologize to her right now." I glared at Jake, furious and heartbroken. My mother had done so much for us. How could he act this way towards her? Apologize? Why? I just said what I felt. I can't relax with strangers in the house. I work hard every day and am exhausted, yet I have to come home and please others. It's mentally draining. Or do you want me to have a mental breakdown? Aren't you the one being rude to the breadwinner of this family? Jake's words made me look down at my feet. I didn't think I was being unreasonable. To me, Jake was the one who was. Despite this, I had no idea what to say to make him understand. "It's okay, don't worry about it. If you two are fine, that's all that matters to me," Sarah said, trying to cheer me up. In the end, that day, Sarah didn't join us for dinner. We ate the meal she prepared, feeling guilty. How can I get along with Jake every day? I pondered on this, but things never seemed to work out, wearing me down mentally. During such times, more misfortune struck. I suddenly fainted at work. My colleagues immediately called for emergency assistance, and I was taken to a major city hospital. After undergoing a full day of tests, I had to be admitted for further examinations. I informed Jake, but received no response from him. The test results revealed that I had cancer. Fortunately, it was detected early, and there's a high chance of full recovery with treatment. However, cancer treatment can be exhausting. Many people experience ill effects due to chemotherapy, and it could be a long battle with the disease. But I'm not done with my life yet. I decided to go through the treatment and continue my fight against the disease. I informed Jake about my cancer diagnosis and my hospitalization for treatment, but he didn't respond at all. This made me sad, but I couldn't afford to dwell on it. I had to encourage myself and face the treatment. As expected, the treatment was a series of hardships. Soon, I couldn't bear the side effects and was bedridden. Then one day, Jake came to my hospital room. This was the first time he had visited since my cancer diagnosis. "How are you feeling?" "Terrible. It might have been easier if you had come earlier." I was infuriated by every word and action of Jake. Why didn't he visit me sooner? Didn't he realize how vulnerable I felt? The happiness of seeing him was overshadowed by the sadness of his previous actions. However, what Jake said next was even more hurtful. "I've filed for divorce. I'm taking the house and the car. It'll be tough for you, but hang in there. Anyway, who knows how long you'll live." A divorce? Weren't we a married couple? Isn't marriage about supporting each other during tough times? His words made my head spin. Those words were enough to cool the love I had for Jake. I don't need Jake anymore. I can lead my own life. He underestimated me, but I'll make him regret it. I'll bring him down and show him how. With that goal, I decided to take action. "Understood. I'm sorry for all the trouble I've caused. You can do as you please with the divorce, the house, and the car. Thank you for everything." As I said that, Jake looked surprised but laughed happily. "I'm glad you understand. I was wondering what to do if you threw a tantrum here. Anyway, take care. Don't bother inviting me to your funeral." Saying that, Jake left the room. Once he was gone, I couldn't hold back my grin any longer. Jake had fallen right into my trap. From now on, Jake will be the one to see hell, not me. I went to the public phone and called a certain individual from my company. "Hello? I have a favor to ask," I said, conveying my request. The person was initially surprised but soon responded, "Understood. All the arrangements have been made. All that's left is to wait for things to start moving. Until then, I would be living my life fighting the illness and waiting for the right time." I wondered what kind of face Jake would show. Overwhelmed with excitement, the hardships of fighting my illness were forgotten, and that day, I faced the treatment with even more determination than before. The major shift happened 3 days later. After the treatment ended and I returned to my hospital room, I found 200 missed calls, all from Jake. I immediately went to the public phone and called him. "Hello," he answered with an urgent tone. "Help me. Please forgive me. I can't go on like this." Jake sounded on the verge of madness. Surely, things had gone as I expected. In my best comforting voice, I asked, "Calm down, Jake. What happened?" Stammering, he replied, "My job. I got laid off. I don't know why this happened." Hearing his words, I felt relieved, knowing our employees had done their job well. I felt a twinge of pity for him, but I had to tell him the truth. "Actually, the day I decided to take revenge on you, I called the head of our company's sales department. I asked him to reconsider doing business with your company. At first, he was confused, but he decided it was better to deal with another company, so he terminated the transaction with your company. The sudden termination surprised your company's president, who then contacted me. That's when I told him everything. I was shocked to hear about your affairs. It seems you were involved with a younger colleague at your company. Rumors have been flying around that you've been having an affair. What's the truth?" "What? That's a lie. There's no way I could do something like that. Stop making fun of me." Jake argued back, thinking I was lying. "Certainly, for an average employee, such a thing would be impossible. But I'm in a special position, Jake. You never really cared about me. I'm the CEO of our company." Jake stammered over the phone. "No way, it's not a lie. Why do you think we were able to manage even with your low salary?" "Because I have an annual salary of $113,000. If I were just a regular employee, it wouldn't have worked out, especially with your spending habits." Jake had significant spending habits. Giving him a monthly allowance of $1,300, he would use it up quickly and demand more within a week. Clearly, his allowance exceeded his earnings. If I were an ordinary person, I would have decided that living with someone like Jake was impossible and would have discarded him and moved on to a happier life. But for me, with a yearly salary of $113,000, $1,300 a month was just pocket change. That's why I gave Jake $1,300 or even more as an allowance every month. Speaking of which, yesterday was payday, wasn't it? I used to give you an allowance every payday, but I can't do that anymore. So, you'll have to manage with your salary. After all, we're divorced. I won't be giving him the $1,300 monthly allowance from now on. He'll have to satisfy his desires with his own salary. Oh, and about the house loan, it's $2,000 a month. Make sure to pay it on time. If you're late, you'll be evicted immediately. Although it's an amount I can easily pay, Jake doesn't even earn $2,000 a month. I wonder if he can manage it. I didn't care either way. I could tell that Jake's voice was trembling because of what I just told him. Every time I informed him of a new fact, he would mutter things like, "That can't be," or "That's a lie." But unfortunately for him, I wasn't lying at all. Everything I had done was for the sake of continuing a happy life with Jake, yet he betrayed those feelings. He pursued only his own happiness, relying solely on me, never offering a hand when I was in need, and even pushing away the hand I extended. It's only natural that some form of divine punishment awaits Jake for his actions. It's a lie. Please tell me it's a lie. How am I supposed to cope with this? I've been laid off from the company. How am I supposed to earn money? I can't even pay this month's rent. Jake's voice was filled with despair. He probably won't be able to overcome the obstacles in front of him. If I were in Jake's shoes, I might lose all hope for the future. It's sad, but all of this is a result of Jake's own actions. If he hadn't taken me for granted, if he had shown even the bare minimum of respect towards me, this future would not have arrived. You could say he brought this upon himself. This is all a result of your actions. If you had treated me and my family with care, it wouldn't have come to this. It's your own doing. At my words, Jake didn't react. Perhaps he was so worn out that he couldn't say anything. Imagining him in that state, I felt a sense of grim satisfaction. I couldn't help but smirk. Is that all you had to say? If so, I'll hang up now. Wait, can we start over? I know it's convenient for me to say this now, but I've realized that I can't live without you. Jake pleaded. Start over? That will never happen. No matter what, I would never consider being with you as a couple again. After all, you've betrayed my feelings multiple times and then abandoned me. How can you expect me to believe in the possibility of us being together again? While I was lost for words at his audacity, Jake continued speaking. I apologize for all the terrible things I did. I'm sorry for not visiting you even when you had cancer. From now on, I'll visit you every day, and when you recover, maybe we can go on a trip. I want to make an effort to make you happy. The effort to make me happy. Those words sounded familiar. Jake used those words when he proposed. I want to make an effort to make you happy. Please marry me. I remembered agreeing instantly, thinking those words were beautiful. I was so naive back then. I was only considering the happiness in front of me and didn't understand the struggles that lay ahead. If I had been more observant, I might have noticed his hidden spending habits. If that were the case, I probably wouldn't have married Jake. Emily, I love you. I can't live without you. Please, I could barely hear Jake's voice. However, having known his true colors, I knew this was just an act. Please stop pretending. No matter how you plead with me, my decision won't change. I will never go back to you. I clearly conveyed that I had no intention of reconciling with him, yet Jake persisted. Please don't say such sad things. I need you, Emily. Please come back. Stay with me. On the other side of the call, Jake desperately pleaded. The old me might have been swayed by his words and considered reconciling with him. However, I had made up my mind to cut ties with Jake deep down. It's over, Jake. Goodbye. I truly believe that I can't continue life with Jake. No matter how much he clung to me or insisted he wanted to be with me, I no longer felt the need to support him as I once did. It's pointless, I said. No matter what you say, I won't be fooled anymore. Plus, you have a mistress, right? Why not enjoy your life with her? Indeed, Jake had someone else. I heard this from the president of Jake's company, so it was probably true. Even though he had someone else, the idea that he couldn't be without me was contradictory. I'm sure that while Jake said he couldn't be without me, he was probably saying the same thing to the other woman. Jake is that kind of man. He'd throw away his pride and suck up to someone stronger than him to secure a place for himself, all to protect himself. Sorry, but no matter what you say, there's no going back. Take care of your affairs from now on. Don't contact me. If something comes up, contact my lawyer. Take care. As I said this, Jake shouted once more, "Wait, please reconsider. I can't go on without you, Emily. Please don't abandon me. I have no one else to rely on." Jake's words were probably heartfelt. If I hung up the phone now and blocked his number, he'd be left with no one to rely on, forced to fend for himself. He'd have to curb his spending habits and pay rent. He had lost his job, so he would need to find a new one. But the jobs available to Jake now were very limited. It was unclear if he could even get re-employed. If I abandoned Jake now, he'd be headed straight for hell, and that was exactly what I wanted. "I don't care about you. Goodbye," I said and hung up the phone. I immediately blocked Jake's number and asked the nurse not to let him visit me. It now became difficult for Jake to contact me. I had done so much for Jake for so long. Finally, I was free from his grasp. Later, according to my lawyer, Jake kept trying to meet me, but since I told my lawyer I didn't want to see him, my whereabouts were kept secret. On my lawyer's advice, I decided to file a lawsuit against Jake regarding his affair. Initially, I didn't intend to, but it was better to get what I could. Of course, I knew neither Jake nor his mistress had the means to pay for the compensation. In fact, Jake had debts from unspeakable places. Now, Jake is working unspeakable jobs to pay back those debts, which have swelled with interest. As for the other woman, she ran away to avoid paying compensation. However, her parents were furious when they found out, and now she's working like a slave at home. As for me, after a long battle with illness, I am now cancer-free. To everyone's surprise, I recovered quickly and am now back at work. I personally thank the head of the sales department who helped me. Since then, I've received several marriage proposals upon hearing I'm single, but having been hurt in marriage before, I want to stay single for a while.